Any additions or corrections to the last meeting's minutes? If none, they'll stand as presented. Public comment. At this time, we have public comment on our agenda. This is a time where community members can come forward and speak to the commission on items that are not currently on the agenda. We do have two people that would like to present to the commission at this time, if there is nobody else. And we'll start with Mr. Tim Reagan.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Thank you for having me. Congratulations to you. I've come back into the fold again. Yeah. I have great admiration for anyone in office, like them or not. It's a constant fire. But anyway, thank you for pitching for HPPR.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. Coincidentally, Earth Day's tomorrow, and I look back at Earth Day. It started back in my generation, and personally I feel that it was a tremendous thing. It continues to this day, but for the most part the ball was really dropped as a lot of us got older and got into other things. But it's kind of a neat thing in that I got another book. I got notice of another book by Lester Brown, and I'm here today to present this book to the city. I think it was 7, 8 years ago, I don't recall, that I came to the board and presented everyone with this book. This is Lester Brown's one of his many books. This is Plan B2. And this year, when I caught word of this one, I thought I'm going to get just one and give it to all of you. And he's probably the best, wisest, most knowledgeable living person on the planet on global situations and global energy and global warming. This newest book is called The Great Transition: Shifting from Fossil Fuels to Solar and Wind Energy. Of course, we're in an epicenter of it right now with the blades out there. But I read the book and I am highly encouraged by it. And I want to give this book to, can I approach it a bit?
Sure.
I'd like to give it to the mayor
Thank you.
and the
Thank you
city
very much.
manager. Inside, on the back, should any of you others want to get the book, the information's in the back. It is, again, like I said, highly encouraging. There is hope, and there is a transition going on, whether people want it or not. It's going on. It's coming like a freight train. And heads up. That's basically it. Hope you get to read the book. I hope you enjoy it. It's very positive. I will say one other thing. It's good to see a woman on the board.
Okay.
And I will say also that when there wasn't one for a while, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. So it's great to see a woman on board. I think there should be a woman on board. Anyway, thank all of you very much for doing what you do. Enjoy the book. It's very enlightening and very encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
And ditto for what's coming.
Okay. Up next, we have Don Hartness requesting the opportunity to address the governing body on a Saving the Cupola project for the Windsor Hotel. So.
On May 1st, our official launch for a crowdfunding effort will be launched. Currently, the site is up as a soft launch, just to make sure we have all the bugs out of it. But the intent is to raise money to renovate the cupola. And the cupola is the decorative tin work that sits at the top of the Windsor and is kind of the icon and symbol of our city skyline. And with the amount we raise, we'll put it directly to that. And it'll give the populace a real indication of the progress being made.
Then I think you had asked Dawn for a video that's been put together for the project.
Yeah,
And-
it's at the site.
Is this it?
That's it.
The Windsor Hotel represents the identity of Garden City, Kansas, a small city with a lot of pride. Similar to the
Sorry. Huh.
There you go.
Try this again. This won't count against your 5 minutes, Don.
Yeah. Technology, isn't it wonderful? When it works, it's great, but
Yeah.
when it doesn't, it's like, oh, great.
We can support CanStarter.com. It's a site established by the Kansas Sampler Foundation, and it's mostly geared to cities and rural cities to raise funds for small endeavors. We'll be raising $36,000 to restore the tin work, restoring the underlaying rafters and woodwork that have been deteriorated by weather and rain and pigeon guano. Rob Fricking has accepted the task, so as soon as we get the money raised, it'll progress from there. I have flyers and posters. Encourage everybody to take those and post them. It'll take about 1,500 people at $25 a head to fund the project. So I think it's a doable goal, and we've allowed until August to collect the money. So I encourage you to go to the site, and it's a neat video, and share it with your social contacts, and we'll get it funded. And the sooner the better.
Don, I had somebody ask me if there'd been some funds allocated for this in the past. And I
We
didn't know
have-
the answer, so I'm just asking it to,
Yeah,
and if this
no.
is it to be put with it, or if that was already used for, and was this the next
We
step? or
raised
what?
$180,000 from the Lois K. Walls Foundation, which is going to go to the lobby and cupola restoration. But we ended up diverting that to the current TE project because some unknown expenses came up, and they allowed us to do that. So the funds we had allocated for the cupola were spent on the current work, which is going well, and but it's all stuff the public really can't see until we start getting tours. So we thought we'd give the cupola renovated to really give an indicator that there's progress being made.
The Windsor Hotel represents the
Oh, there we go.
identity of Garden City, Kansas, a small city with a lot of pride. Similar to the founders of Garden City, who built this ornate hotel on the prairie of Kansas, my father shares a vision of Garden City as a place of distinction, and the Windsor Hotel as the symbol of its possibilities.
My name is Don Harness. I'm the president of the Benton County Preservation Alliance. We're located in Garden City, Kansas, and dedicated to preservation, and in particular the Windsor Hotel, which is an 1887 hotel. It's just the icon or signature building of downtown.
The Windsor is such a unique icon to this community, and I've always loved history, and I've always loved architecture, and the Windsor was the perfect combination of architectural significance and history for our community.
One of the features of the building is a 3-story atrium in the middle of the building. So the real beauty of the building is inside the building.
So the atrium is really what makes the building unique. When you're outside of the building, you kind of don't know that this 3-story atrium exists. So when you come up the stairs, there's kind of this moment of awe, and there's this mahogany railings and skylights. So it's pretty amazing to be in this space, and it's kind of what makes the Windsor worth it, in my opinion. My dad has been volunteering with the Preservation Alliance since 1994, but he rarely gets a chance to go inside of the building. In fact, just recently, he got to go inside the building for the first time in over 10 years.
It's nice to see the progress they've made. Come a long way, it's just a long ways to go.
Most of the work being done is on the inside of the building.
We're currently implementing the Transportation Enhancement Grant, which is concentrating on stabilization and new roof and skylight.
But the exterior deserves some attention as well, especially the decorative feature on top of the building, the cupola.
Cupola.
Cupola. We renovate the cupola. Cupola. The cupola.
The cupola is such a unique aspect of the building. I mean, it really is the distinct mark. It's what makes the Windsor stand out.
The cupola is the feature at the top of the building. Some people call it the widow's walk, but it's actually just a decorative feature of pressed tin. It just makes sense to do it now.
All right, everyone, let's go up to the roof and check out the cupola.
This is the cupola. It's kind of like the hat of the Windsor.
It's a pretty iconic feature of the Windsor Hotel. It's featured prominently in lots of photographs of Garden City going back to the 1890s. As you can see, it's in pretty rough shape, and during this time it would be awesome to be able to stabilize and restore the cupola.
So why would you say the cupola?
If we get it renovated and restored, it would give the populace a sign that progress is being made.
Here is the cupola. Please help us restore it to its former glory.
Very good.
We couldn't get any kitty cats and apple pie in there. We tried to get a little higher. But really, thank you for your support of the ongoing renovation, and hope you can contact your social contacts and help them make this work.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do that.
Could that video be played on our channel?
I don't think there'd be anything to prevent that from being played. We'll check that out though.
Okay.
Well, Don's still up here, if he would turn back around real quick. We do have a item 7A, the governing body consideration and approval to proclaim April 21st, 2015 as Don Harness Day. I'd entertain a motion to approve the proclamation.
So moved.
I think it was about universal.
Yeah, I'll second.
I think so.
Commissioner Hall made the motion, Commissioner Dale seconded the motion. Any other discussion? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Let me sign this, and I'll be right down, and I'll read the proclamation.
I think it's a railroad job, don't you?
The proclamation reads, whereas Don Harness has devoted more than 15 years to the Finney County Preservation Alliance, including several years as president and full-time advocate for the organization, and whereas under Don's leadership, the Finney County Preservation Alliance has worked to see the historic Windsor Hotel renovated and returned to its place as an architectural icon of our community. And whereas Don has spent countless hours organizing benefit concerts, implementing and overseeing public tours, securing grants, and working with engineers and architects to oversee improvements made possible by the grant funds, and whereas Don retired from his role as FCPA President January 1st, but continues to work toward the preservation and restoration of the Windsor Hotel. Now therefore I, Roy Cessna, Mayor of the City of Garden City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim April 21, 2015 as Don Harness Day in Garden City, Kansas, and urge all citizens to acknowledge and express their sincere appreciation and thanks for his service to this community, and highly commend him for the manner in which he has carried out his responsibilities and duties as President of the Finney County Preservation Alliance. Signed and sealed this 21st day of April 2015, Roy Cessna, Mayor.
Eric and the rest of the family, you guys want to come up and take a big group to the photo? And preservation, Brian?
Yes, Brian's here.
Yeah, preservation alliance folks too. Friends of Don.
Okay, is this everyone? All right.
All right.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Awesome.
Congratulations.
Yep. Is there anyone else at this time that would like to come before the commission and comment? None being, we'll move on to item 6A. The reorganization of the Board of City Commissioners. I guess it's my time to make my comments. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. It's been a busy year during my time as mayor of Garden City. Every day we are provided the opportunity to make history. During my tenure as mayor, we have made a lot of history for the betterment of Garden City. I'd like to thank my fellow city commissioners for their dedication and work to improve our community. I'd also like to acknowledge and give credit to all of our outstanding city staff and the high quality of service that they each provide our community daily to make Garden City the best community in the state in which to live, work, and raise a family. This last year, we have focused on fiscal responsibility, improving existing public facilities and spaces, continued to develop residential, commercial, and industrial sectors, considered new public facilities, worked to maintain a vibrant central business district, addressed key administrative and policy issues, attended to the transportation needs, and improved the quality of life here in Garden City. Last fall, we officially opened Phase 2 of Showman Crossing retail development. We're expecting more great things to come from this development. We also saw the renovation of the American Legion building that will become an Italian restaurant in downtown Garden City. We learned that a neighborhood Walmart will be coming soon to the west side of Garden City. We have seen the start of an expansion of the Cancer Center to help make St. Catherine Hospital more of a regional medical facility for our healthcare needs in our community. There were a number of motels that opened or were started and are under construction. This economic growth has an important impact on our sales tax receipts, which are up from the previous year and are up for the start of this year. Housing and the need for moderate income housing is going to continue to grow. We are encouraged by the many housing projects that were completed and the ones that are in various stages ranging from conceptual plans to actual construction. Hopefully these projects will all come to fruition, resulting in more new residential units in Garden City. We're excited that the Pecos League announced that they would bring a baseball team, the Wind, to Garden City starting this summer. We also created the Starbond District for the eventual training facility and sporting complex for Sporting KC. The city is finishing upgrades to the big pool to keep it a viable water attraction for the community and region. Transportation is another key to enhancing our standing as a regional center of western Kansas. Rail, aviation, and adequate highways are a vital means of maintaining and growing our economy and regional draw. We were happy to receive a $12.4 million Tiger Grant from the United States Department of Transportation for the Southwest Chief. These funds will be used to preserve passenger rail service in Garden City and along the route. Another vital component of our transportation network is air service. Our regional jet service to Dallas continues to grow. By the end of 2014, employments totaled over 26,000. We made upgrades at the airport to improve the traveling experience, including new restroom facilities and expanded waiting area. The transition to the Kansas Municipal Energy Agency helped to stabilize energy rates for our community. We also opened the Jameson Energy Center as part of the agreement to help meet the energy needs of our growing community. I want to thank my wife, Julie, and our children for giving of my time and taking of their time to give me to serve in this leadership role in our community. I'd like to thank the community for its support of re-electing me to this position as a city commissioner, and I look forward to continue to move Garden City in a positive direction. Thank you. Okay, now that's over with. Madam Clerk, we can now move on to administering the oath of office to the newly elected commissioners. I would ask the other newly elected commissioners to join you and me in front of the bench.
Everyone raise their right hand.
All right. The right hand?
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of City Commissioner
and faithfully discharge the communities as City Commissioner.
Duties.
As City Commissioner.
So help me God.
So help me God. Is that
I
it?
get that right.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Can we get a train going by? Replay?
Yeah.
Close enough. There you go.
Yeah, close enough, yeah. All right. At this time, we will select the chairperson to the board who shall assume the duties and title of mayor. At this time, I'll accept nominations for chairperson of the board who shall assume the duties and title of mayor.
I'll make that motion.
For who?
Oh, I'm sorry. Get it all.
Are there any other nominations? None. Hearing none, all in favor of Janet Dahl being selected chairperson?
Second.
Oh, is there a second?
I'll say.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay. So all in favor of Janet Dahl being selected chairperson of the board and assuming the duties and title of mayor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Congratulations to Mayor Dahl. Will you join me in front of the bench, please? This is the passing of the gavel. This is a tradition that we normally do in Garden City. It's a local tradition that promotes our local form of government. Every mayor that has been mayor for the last number of years has their name inscribed on this, and it was started by Mayor Tim Cruz, so congratulations.
All right.
All right.
And Roy, we have something for you. It's in recognition of your time served as being mayor, and I must say you were an outstanding mayor.
Well, thank you.
So it says, Roy Sessner, Mayor, City of Garden City, Kansas, April 15, 2014 to April 21st, 2015. In recognition of outstanding community service on behalf of the community of Garden City and its citizens.
Got it? All right. I'll just leave it here for now.
You want to switch?
We have to switch.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm no longer mayor, so. Whoa. I see where I rate.
Kids table.
Yeah.
They warned you it'd be sudden.
Yeah.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the citizens of Garden City and my fellow commissioners for this opportunity to serve you and our community as mayor of Garden City. I am humbled and I am honored. I look forward to working with my fellow commissioners and the City of Garden City staff as we continue the work of assisting and enabling our city, our businesses, and our citizens to prosper and grow. There are many items of importance that we continue to work on. Former Mayor Sessna mentioned all of those, and so it's kind of my opinion that actions and results speak louder than words, so let's get to it. Okay. The next item is selection of vice chairperson who will assume the duties and title of vice mayor and serve as chairperson in the absence of mayor. I will now accept nominations for the vice chairman of the board.
I nominate Chris Law as vice chairman.
And I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor of Chris Law for vice chairman and assuming duties and title of vice mayor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Congratulations, Vice Mayor Law. And now we're ready for item 6H.
Item 6H, Mayor and Commissioners, the Commission's designation of the rules of order it will follow in the conduct of meetings. If the Commission wishes to continue current practice, then an appropriate motion would be to follow Division 2, Article 2 of the Code of Ordinances.
So moved.
Second.
And there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
Item 6I, the discussion regarding time and place for regularly scheduled meetings of the Commission. If the Commission wishes to continue current practice, the Commission meets on the first and third Tuesdays of each month at 1 p.m.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Item 6J, governing body consideration of personnel authorized to be seated at the Commission bench. If the Commission wishes to continue current practice, an appropriate motion would be to authorize the City Clerk and City Attorney to be seated at the Commission bench.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Item 6K, governing body designation of an official city newspaper as provided by state statute. If the commission wishes to continue current practice, an appropriate motion would be to designate the Garden City Telegram as the official city newspaper.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? None being, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Item 6L, Mayor and Commissioners, is a built-in break to allow family members and the public to recognize the new commissioners and the new mayor and vice mayor, and to thank the outgoing mayor. So we'll meet across the hall, and we can resume back in session at, what do you want to do? Leave that to...
You're the mayor.
150?
Yeah, that'll work.
150? All right. So join us across the hall.
You ready?
I mean, did I say, what did I say? Okay, Madam Clerk. So I'll call this meeting back to order again. The next item is 7, consideration of petition memorials and remonstrances.
That's right, and I think we're ready for item B. The governing body's asked to consider a request from Spark Natural Gas for a waiver from the sidewalk performance for a portion of a project located at 2001 East Highway 50. Craig?
Good afternoon. My name is Craig Fisher, Planning Technician in the Community Development Department. I refer you to your packet for a complete report, but I'm here on behalf of Spark Natural Gas. They're proposing to build a CNG station at the northeast corner of Campus and Fulton, or 2001 East Highway 50. And per Chapter 18, the buildings and building regulations of the City of Garden City, any commercial project valued over $25,000 is required to, if they're not already in place, to put in sidewalks per city specifications. And I've been working with Spark, and they've agreed to put in a sidewalk on the north side of their property along Old Lovers Lane, as well as install a fence to buffer pedestrians from the semi-trucks that are parked there. But there is no sidewalk along Highway 50. And in working with KDOT, it would be rather difficult to do so due to the drainage ditch that exists there. So at this time, we feel that it is reasonable to request a waiver from the sidewalk requirement for that portion of the project, for the sidewalk on US Highway 50. Do you have any questions?
Is that gonna be 5 foot wide sidewalk, and then the fence would be south of that,
Correct.
right on the property line or thereabouts?
Yes.
So there's gonna be, what, 4 or 5 foot there, probably, of weeds?
We haven't, per the site plan, there won't be any landscaping. It'll just be the sidewalk and then the fence and then their truck parking. I don't think there'll be much of a gap for the weeds, but they would be required to keep that maintained,
Yeah.
for sure.
So the sidewalk will be up against the curb?
Yes.
Is that okay?
I'd make a motion that we grant the waiver of the Fulton Street sidewalk and install a 5 foot sidewalk on Old Lovers Lane and a fence.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Item 7C, a request from the Finney County Fair to consider the following items: a special rate fee for solid waste service, permission to close off Lake Avenue to through traffic from July 22nd through the 26th, a waiver of the deposit and daily fees normally required for the carnival, and a waiver to restricted height of aircraft over the corporate limits to allow for helicopter rides. This is consistent with requests made in the past, and those requests have been granted by the commission. Staff would recommend approval.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Item 8A, the staff has provided a final update on the progress of the emergency repairs at the swimming pool, and I'll invite Fred up to give you a one last report from our end on this.
You keep saying that. Is this the final report? I certainly hope so. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Just want to give progress on the emergency repairs of the pool. New deck has been installed. I included some pictures for your review. This kind of shows the last picture.
Oops.
Oh.
Which you will see shortly.
Shows the finished wall with the deck on it, and so that's what the west wall of the pool looks like now. They will be, the Garden City Recreation Commission, I visited with them, and they're bringing in a dry ice unit that will blast the pool bottom, clean all the algae that had developed on the pool floor over the past few years, get that cleaned off, and they'll get the pool cleaned up. The shallow end, they're installing the sealing material, joint sealing material that we discussed at my last update. They're working on that today, and it looks like they'll probably have that done in the next day or so at the pace they seem to be moving at when I stopped by this morning. I anticipate by the end of this week the joint sealing will be installed. They're working to get the fences installed, and it looks like everything is back up for the most part for the fencing around the pool, and the project remains on schedule. The Garden City Recreation Commission now will be responsible to come in, clean the pool, prep it for the upcoming swim season, and we'll continue to monitor the water use at the facility, and we'll update you at the end of the season as to what the improvement was and if there's any additional steps that need to be taken.
Is this first picture here, is this a different picture than what we had before? Because before you just cut out areas where you laid the pipe. Is this where you cut out more concrete?
What you're looking at there is actually the deck that, all the pictures I had provided before was actually in the floor of the pool, inside the pool. This is actually up on the deck surface.
Up on the deck, okay.
And the area over here, do you see the blue line over here? That was the original deck. This additional portion that was cut out here, that was to allow us to move our fill pipe closer to the pool because we turned that wall from an angled wall to a straight wall. We had to bring that fill pipe out probably 15, 16 feet, somewhere in that neighborhood. So they did cut into the decking there so they could move the plumbing out and get it out to the corner of the deck.
So there's a lot more vertical space out there now for people to sunbathe or what have you now.
Yeah, significantly.
Okay.
So, and that keeps, that portion of the pool was filled with water, but it wasn't truly usable swimming area because it was very shallow, and so I feel like in the long run you'll save some water quantity by doing this emergency repair, and yet you'll still have all the usable swimming area of the pool that you had historically had.
I know there isn't anyone from the rec here, and the city will have all their work done in plenty of time for the pool to open. Do you know if they have all their things organized and ready to roll to get their part finished before the pool is scheduled to open?
I understand they do. I visited with their aquatics director this morning, and they'll be moving in at the end of the week to do their blasting in the deep end, and they'll once the joint sealant is set up, then they'll clean the shallow end, and they're going to repaint the shallow end this year prior to opening.
So is that going to give them enough time to get it done and
Yeah,
filled by the 8th?
They want to fill by May 8th. It's going to be a tight schedule.
Okay. All right.
Those things are things that the rec is working on, and those are out of our purview.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. I'd like to thank Fred and acknowledge the fact that he took on this additional assignment. The only thing that it really has in common with his responsibilities is that there's water in the pool and that he's the water director. So that was enough of a coincidence that he got the task. But he's done a really good job, and I think as a result of his intervention, there will be a 2015 swim season there where otherwise there wouldn't have been. Special thanks to him and the commission for authorizing the necessary the necessary funds to get it done. Item 8B, the city has received its customary correspondence from Cox Communications. Items 8C, there's a number of staff reports. We're available to answer questions you might have on those. If there aren't any, I'll call your attention to the meetings of note, and any of those that require an RSVP, please let CLAN know. With that, I think we're ready for 9A, the appropriation ordinance, which if approved would be 2386-2015A.
I move that we approve ordinance number 2386-2015A.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Item 10A, an updated water conservation and drought response plan is submitted for the governing body's review and adoption. There are two portions of this item. The first is the plan itself, and then second, an ordinance which would adopt the rules involving conserving and curtailing water use and referencing that plan. I will now turn it over to Fred to talk about this, which is in his scope of responsibility.
Greetings again, Mayor and Commissioners. We've gone over a lot of these items at the pre-meeting 2 weeks ago, but just to refresh, the current water conservation and drought response plan was developed and adopted in 1990. So we're working on a fairly old document. This is the document that's before you today is completely reworked from that 1990 version. The plan's organized into 4 sections: an introduction, which describes the current city water supply resources, storage facilities, and infrastructure, features of the Garden City water supply. It also incorporates by reference the Garden City water distribution system master plan, which was adopted by the Commission in 2014. The second portion is a long-term water use efficiency section, which reviews past city performance within its region and sets a water conservation goal of 206 gallons per capita day. That would be the goal per person water usage that we would be working toward meeting or preferably exceeding. That number is calculated by all the water consumed by residential and business customers within the city. It includes water that's used for parks and recreation, but it does not include water that's used for industrial purposes. That doesn't factor into that number. So there'll be a large focus on increasing water conservation among our business and residential customers, as well as the water used by our city partners, the City Parks Department, Zoo, Recreation Commission. That will be included in that efficiency goal. The third part is drought response. In this section of the plan, establishes response triggers or conditions. If drought conditions are triggered, the plan outlines the steps water customers will be asked to take to reduce water demand. The section also outlines the role of the city during the drought response and provides a template for communications with stakeholders. And that response plan starts with primarily voluntary measures and public information, and it will escalate as drought conditions increase and to where we get into a water emergency situation, which we don't want to get to, where we'll have a number of mandatory measures that the city will have at their disposal to implement in order to address the water availability conditions. City ordinances have been revised and will require adoption by the Commission to allow for the enforcement of the provisions provided within the drought response section of the plan as presented. And City Attorney Griselle drafted those and has presented those in this packet as well. The fourth item is plan revision, monitoring, and evaluation. Ongoing review and updates of the plan will be necessary to ensure that this plan remains current and effective. And this section outlines steps that staff will take to provide current information to the city manager and city commission. It also outlines the annual review process, and this provides for staff input and direction from the city commission to meet existing goals or set new goals in subsequent years. And of course, we'll continue to update the commission on a quarterly basis as part of our public utilities report as to what our water use is.
One question. You've got on here leaks will be repaired. Some places it says 48 hours, some places it says 24. The mains are 24, but
Leaks, yes.
leaks you might want to check and make them all uniform.
Well, there's a reason for that, Commissioner Fankhauser. Leaks are things that we're detecting on the customer side. When we talk about water mains, we're talking about the city's infrastructure, water piping going around town. But the city also monitors customers for leak conditions in their own properties, and that's a responsibility of the customer on the customer side to repair those leaks. So there are some times in there where we're noting leaks, and those would be leaks that are on the customer side of the service. As we get into higher levels of water conservation, we'll need to enforce the repair of those leaks more aggressively.
24 hours. Can't even get a plumber in 24 hours. Right?
On this,
Hopefully they'll be more helpful that time.
on this, we approve the plan, but then we also have an ordinance that's regulating the water supply. So if we change, you talked about changing the plan, and so if we change the plan, do we have to change the ordinance then every time that we change the plan, or, I mean, is that part of, I mean?
Well, that may be something that needs to be, it would depend on the updates that were provided. When I discuss changing the plan, a lot of the things that we'll look at changing in the plan might be issues that trigger certain episodes. So one thing I discussed at the presentation a few weeks ago was looking for a better way to monitor our water usage on a real-time basis. We have a number of wells that we can go around, once or twice a month and check those and get a level. But we have talked about, as we implement a new SCADA system, actually putting monitoring equipment in our wells where we can see how a well is performing every minute that it's pumping water, or every minute that it's not pumping water for that matter. That gives us more data to see what exactly is going on with our groundwater supply. If we would change our triggers that would say implement a water watch or a water emergency based off of that information, that wouldn't require a change of the ordinances, because the ordinance states, if a water emergency has been declared, if a water warning has been declared, that once that's been declared, then these are the steps that the city manager is authorized to take.
Okay.
So the input that directs us to come to that decision may change over time. We may have better data or a better way to calculate what gets us to that condition, but I don't see anything in the ordinance that would need to be changed in that regard. The other things we would be changing, we might, as we review, we may want to set more aggressive conservation goals to reduce our water use, or we may want to adopt new policies to reduce water use. I don't see in a lot of instances where that would require a change in city ordinance.
Okay.
What about, as we grow these triggers, you're going to expect more water use with growth. So that would be something we'd be looking to monitor and change, I guess, as time went on. The 206 goal, that's the one that can remain the same. That's more or less per person, but in the Water Watch number 3, demand is in excess of 10.5 million gallons per day, which is a high number, but still, a few years from now, that might be the norm. And
Absolutely, and that's a good example of a trigger that might change, and it might change as our water portfolio and availability changes too. So our job is to present that information to the commission and try and help give some background for you to help us make those decisions. So we want to keep the document a lot more vital than the current 20-plus-year-old document. So.
And then we also referenced the provider of purchased water has issued a stage 1 water watch as a trigger, and that's in the other two also.
Mm-hmm.
So are we by reference adopting their system? And so if so, what constitutes to them a stage 1 water watch or a stage 2 or stage 3?
That information, I'll provide that to the commission. I don't have that plan in hand right now, but that is something that we need to be more mindful of, is what conditions are going to affect Wheatland Electric in terms of their water supply. We'll need to be prepared to respond to those because they do provide, in certain months of the year, a very significant amount of water to the city.
I mean, I'm sure that their triggers are going to be, right where they need to be, but still we're hanging an action by ourselves on an action they're taking. So I haven't seen that yet. I'd be interested to see that. So.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Water Conservation and Drought Response Plan as submitted.
There's been a motion. Is there a
Second.
second? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
And the ordinance number, if approved, would be 2695-2015.
I make a motion we approve ordinance 2695-2015.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
The item 10B is, if approved, to be resolution number 2629-2015. This authorizes the removal of vehicle nuisances from 708 Ham Line, 614 West Olive, and 1504 St. John.
I'll move that we approve resolution 2629-2015.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
There's no old business at this time. Item, if you don't mind, Mayor and Commissioners, we can finish the day with item 12A. There's no business. It's just going over those funds of the budget, and we can address some of the things that we've got folks waiting here for. Item 12B, there's some projects authorized in the 2015 budget and/or proposed in the 2015 and 2016 capital improvement programs, which require debt financing. Cindy Engineer has provided a memo discussing and a history of the city bond issues for 2001 through 2014.
I almost panicked there. I put the memos in the wrong order, so pardon me a second. You remember back to the retreat in February, we briefly went over the capital improvements projects, specifically looking at 2015 and 2016. So what's presented along with this memo then is just recapitulation of those things that are in the 15 and 16 plans, and we have identified which ones appear to be able to be budgeted in the normal operations budgets of the various departments, and which ones might need debt financing. So in 2015, we have 4 potential projects. 2 of them involve previously authorized grants. One's the 3-year combined clink project on Kansas Avenue from basically Belmont to Anderson. And the second one is construction of taxiway F at the airport. So those two have some urgency and need for financing. Third one is the study for the concept plan and a location study for a convention center. And then the fourth one is construction of an indoor shooting range, which is currently just being designed. In fact, I think we're hopefully going to have that survey done in the next week or so. So we can continue on with that. So those four total, a little over $3.1 million. Let me go back just a hair. And if we did not issue any new debt in 2015, there could be about a 0.47 mil decrease in property taxes next year because of debt that's going off this year that won't have to be paid in 2016. So that's kind of one of the pieces of this puzzle that we look at is what might be coming off in the next budget year. So what could, if the commission chooses, how much they could add back without having any major impact on the mill levy for 2016. So, and that equates to about a $680,000 bond issue, which comes far short of 3.1 plus, but in the options that I presented, again, if we go back to just the two projects that have grants and outside funding, those total just about $637,000. So it's within that range, so we could bond those two projects this year without impact at all to the 2016 budget. Probably still have just a hair decrease. The indoor shooting range, if that was added now, would result in about a 1.36 mil increase. But since that project is still in design and would be later in the vision as the convention center, determining what is it? Is it just large meeting rooms? Is it going to have a big arena, kind of like United Wireless plus the McGork?
Who came up with that figure?
I think that's one we just kind of.
That sounds like a lot.
Well, it is, and not knowing exactly what it would take, it's kind of a placeholder number that, yeah, it fits in the WAG category, not the swag, because there is no science. It's just.
Well, I mean, I just saw that. It seemed like a lot of money.
It is
for a study.
Yeah, it is.
Steve, did that also include some preliminary plans too?
Well, I think so. Once you figure out what the concept was, then if you're going to start talking to the public about financing this construction in the future, you need to have
a visual
aids, either elevations, floor plans, things like that. So there's some ancillary costs in there as well as a location study and those kind of things.
But I don't know. I guess I didn't realize that we'd made a decision that we were going to proceed for that. Proceed.
Just because it's made it this far in the CIP, you still have
up until you approve the contract, which is someone that.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
as you all well know, projects need like 7 yeses to happen. So, I think it made the first one that it got listed as a project that wasn't necessarily in the budget but would be done and then financed in a subsequent year. So it's one of those projects during the budget process that you could say, yes, we're doing that, but not have made any financial commitment.
Yeah, I'm just not sure that a convention center will, what does that mean? I mean,
and that's
the point of
part of what this study is to do, is what is
the
Yeah, it's
convention
different.
center.
You know, it's not working real well in Dodge City. And I don't know whether it'll, I have my doubts it'll work in Garden City either, but.
Why couldn't the CVB?
Well, and Commissioner Dale, that's an excellent question, and actually staff supports some assistance either in total or in part from CVB whenever this does happen.
Yeah, I think they need to step up.
But nonetheless, it's still in the 2015 CIP, so we're bringing it up. And depending on which option you choose to go with, it either will quietly go away for a while or continue on down the road for another of the 7 votes before it actually.
There's really no obligation to do all $5 million of the projects identified. They've just made it in your processes this far without being removed by the commission. So I think as Steve's pointed out, it's going to be inevitable that some of these move unless that you're willing to accept that you'd be headed for a corresponding mill levy increase in the adoption of the 2016 budget. So that's why you're having this conversation.
And we're not asking for a decision today. This is just to get the matter up in front of you so that you've got time to think of it as you're moving into the budget. I think one that we're looking in the May time frame, like the second meeting in May or something, is maybe trying to get a little more direction, but certainly you've got through the budget process to actually make final decisions. So.
Okay, any other questions? So, you want time to think about this? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The next item is the governing body's asked to consider selecting a consulting engineer firm to provide construction, engineering, inspection, and right-of-way acquisition services for the Kansas Avenue widening project. Steve?
Okay, this is our a geometric improvement project jointly funded with KDOT that will be going to bid later this fall. Because of the type of project it is and the funding involved, it requires inspection services that the city is not capable of providing, specialized certifications and things, so we have to go to an outside consultant to secure those. And then this would also provide a little assistance in right-of-way acquisition with that project as well. So these letters of interest will be coming into my office next week, so I just need a member of the governing body to sit in on a selection committee, and we'll bring this back to you at a subsequent meeting with a recommendation.
Anybody want to volunteer for that?
Probably I can do it.
Okay, all right, thank you, Dan.
Thank you, sir.
The city has received application materials from KDOT for the FY 2017 CLINC and FY 2018 GI programs. The governing body is asked to consider and select projects.
Good news, I think. KDOT has increased the state level of funding in both of these categories this year. CLINC projects used to be a $200,000 state max. That's gone up to $300,000. Requires a 50% match, or I mean an equal match. So we're talking about a $600,000 CLINC project as opposed to $400,000. Geometric improvements used to be, well, they're still on 85% KDOT, 15% local, but the state max has gone to $1 million from 850. So again, a little bit bigger project is available out of both of these categories. So the alternatives we have identified for
The 2017 Clink project would be on Kansas Avenue from 400 feet west of Crestway Drive, which is basically where the concrete stops out by Target, going up the hill, on out to a little bit past the driveway into Staples and the Comfort Inn. Get that rebuilt into concrete and eventually continue to work our way east through the ramps at the interchange and rebuild into concrete and eliminate a lot of maintenance headaches for us in the future as well as KDOT. So that's one thought. The other one is to begin a multi-year program for concrete reconstruction on Main Street. You know, the current project we did Pine, Walnut, and a little more concrete at Kansas Avenue. So this concept would be to go and fill in the gaps between Fulton and Pine to Walnut, etc., leapfrogging our way around Main Street and get it all into concrete again, getting rid of that asphalt maintenance headache periodically. So those are the two options that staff has identified for your consideration. 2018 geometric improvement application is one we've applied for 3 times in a row and have been unsuccessful on. And that's on Kansas Avenue from basically just east of 3rd Street to almost Belmont. It would complete the widening of Kansas from Main Street out to the city limits to 5 lanes. That's our last little bottleneck in there, if you will. And that's really the only one we've identified as a fairly decent candidate for use. If you'd care to make a choice today, that'd be great. The deadline for these applications is May 29th, so if you need a little more time to consider, that is also available. But don't wait too late because it does take a little bit of time to put these together.
I think the Kansas Avenue from 450 feet west of the Crestway Drive would be a little more vital or at a little higher level on the scale.
What's the reason we don't get that? We haven't got it in these last few times.
Well, the one Commissioner Cessna is talking about is the Clink on out past Target. We have not applied for that one yet.
But the other one,
the other one on Kansas Avenue, I think geometric improvement funding is very competitive, and really until we finish the one we've got to do between Main and 3rd, which we just discussed on the consultant selection. When we get that one done, I think we'll have a better shot at getting another geometric improvement, but I always like to apply to keep our name in front, just in case somebody can't. And as long as I keep pounding them, you know that I won't go away. They'll give us money eventually.
Do you have a recommendation?
The recommendation on the geometric would be the Kansas Avenue one and the Kansas Avenue Clink.
I think they're looking for the 2017, the recommendation between the Kansas Avenue or the Main Street. I just threw out the Kansas Avenue one to get reconstructed.
On the walkability study, weren't there some changes on Main Street? I can't remember specifically. To make it a little bit more pedestrian friendly?
Well, part of the current project on Main Street, when we get the slurry seal installed on the rest of the asphalt from Main to Fulton later this spring or early summer, we'll restripe Main to 3 lanes.
It's a paint project, though. This would be
yeah, if we decide to do some additional intersection bump out treatments or something to shorten the gap or the distance between one side of Main Street and the other, you know, those are certainly could be accomplished at the same time as Clink, but those would be 100% on the city. But just because we would apply to reconstruct a portion of Main Street doesn't preclude us from being able to do something else at the same time.
Okay. Well, I was thinking if we did that, it'd be nice to do it all at the same time. Save some money.
Yeah, and is that part of what you're gonna? Sam's gonna discuss a little bit more in that area here just a bit.
But this is just applying for it.
This is just
doesn't
applying for it,
guarantee
it
us
doesn't
getting-
guarantee it, although we
have
have
been
never,
pretty
we have
successful.
never not been funded with a Clink project.
We have never not?
We have never not.
Okay.
Not never gotten, never, never have, never will, no. How's that?
But we
Shelley?
have.
Never say never.
Yeah.
We always get a Clink
This
project.
might be
There
the
you go.
first year.
I'm also a plus to doing the Main Street is we've got part of it done. It'd be kind of nice to get it all done.
There is that, but then there's also the dreaded, you're making me work on Main Street again. And,
It's okay, you've got broad shoulders.
It's my least favorite street in Garden City to work on. I love downtown, make no mistake about it. I just don't want to work on the street.
I make a motion that we suggest or consider the Kansas Avenue for the 2017 Clink application from 450 feet west of Crestway Drive to 550 feet east of Crestway Drive.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Item 10, so we're on E.
Now, are you not wanting to apply for the geometric or?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Do we have a motion for the 2018 geometric improvement application?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
It's the Kansas Avenue from 3rd to Belmont widening to the 5 lanes, which we've applied for unsuccessfully getting 3 times.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you very much. I'll sit down now.
Item 12E, how about that, is that right? 12E. Governing bodies asked to set a procedural schedule for determination of electric service franchise for annexed areas. Mike?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Just a quick little bit of brief history. Last fall, the governing body annexed the city-owned property referred to as the Jameson property adjacent to the wastewater treatment plant. The annexation went through and it was annexed into the city boundaries. As part of that, the Kansas State Statute 66-1-176 allows for the certificated utility that surrounds Garden City, in this case it's the Wheatland Electric Cooperative, has the right to request a franchise to provide electric service to that property within the city, within that piece of property. Wheatland Electric has done that. They've made the request through the city attorney's office for the city commission to give consideration to that. So in order to follow the statutes as written, there are 9 factors that need to be considered. There are others should you choose to do other considerations, but there are 9 that's outlined. And this procedural schedule, what this does is we'll set the dates that, if you set the date today on the 21st, then by April 30th, the city will have completed its analysis on the 9 factors. That will be submitted to Wheatland Electric for their consideration, and then they have an opportunity to comment back to the city. The city can then comment back, and then the analysis will be presented to the city commission on May 14th, and then on May 19th, the city commission will make a determination as to whether you want to issue a franchise to the Wheatland Electric Cooperative or have the Garden City Electric Utilities excuse me, to provide service to that property. I know Beth Looney is here, the Assistant General Manager from Wheatland Electric Co-op. Should you have any questions of me or her, or if you'd like to say anything, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I make a motion that we
approve the procedural schedule as outlined in the memo.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Item 12F, the governing body is asked to consider and approve a master service agreement between the City of Garden City and Revere Healthcare Solutions, Inc. One moment. WINS provided notice of default on their contract with the City of Garden City on March 16th. The city has considered a proposal by Revere Health Systems to resume operation of the clinic under new terms and conditions, but within the framework of service and including, we've recently learned, the same local personnel outlined in the master service agreement that was in your packet. If the agreement is approved and the city finds the relationship to be satisfactory, the agreement does provide for a continuation of service with a series of 1 year extensions, and in a manner where the city would receive credit for some of the payments made without services under the WINS contract. Nothing that was required of Revere Health Systems to offer, but something that was successfully negotiated with them as myself and Randy Grizel worked with the owner of Revere Health System. So our recommendation is to approve the contract as it provides for the quickest reopening of our on-site clinic, a popular benefit for our workforce. And it also provides an opportunity to recover losses following WINS default in the case that things work well, and in the case that things don't work well, it allows for termination of the agreement should the city not be happy and wish to go out for proposals on with other providers.
I make a motion we approve the master service agreement between the City of Garden City and Revere Healthcare Solutions.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Item 12G, staff requests the governing body appoint a commissioner to the Elephant Stakeholder Committee.
Anybody want to volunteer?
I've already volunteered.
You saw it coming.
It's like
I ain't going to do that.
Okay.
Was that a consent to do that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Dan
thank you,
recommended
Melvin. Okay, I appoint Commissioner Dale to the Elephant Stakeholder Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Wonder what that tastes like.
Item 12H, Traffic Advisory Board recommendations. Item H1, the recommendation from the Traffic Advisory Board is to deny the request for a community college or a crosswalk on Campus Drive at the intersection of Jean Avenue. There was also a request for a flashing warning signal. I do believe while the recommendation is not to install a crosswalk, at this time there certainly is the interest in identifying a safe way to cross Campus Drive as the campus of Garden City Community College expands on both sides of that street. I just think at this point in time that the wasn't a lot of clarity on the exact location. We're currently going through some studies, and Sam, I think, why don't we go ahead and talk about the second recommendation, because I think it makes the first recommendation make a little more sense.
Yeah. Like Matt said, that first one's been in front of the board at least 3 times, and we keep trying to gather information. It takes a while to get information gathered, but there's been a push for us to get that crosswalk in, and I just think the government, or the board, Traffic Advisory Board, they voted 2-2 just for the fact they think they need more information. And this second request is the staff is requesting approval to solicit letters of interest of engineering consultants to provide engineering services for a transportation study. That's that walkability thing. I know a number of you went to the summit, which involved Mark Benton. This is in response to that, and campus is one of those arterials that we would like to study, to maybe moving it back to a 3-lane road, which would open up the opportunity for refuge islands. That would help, would open up shorter walking distances, bike lanes, those types of things. So I think it will bring some options to the camp, to the community college, and maybe try to address that. And one thing that we have done since the meeting is we did go out and do a pedestrian study and found out we had about 250 students crossing in 4 days, but they weren't crossing where they want to put the crosswalk. About 34% of them were crossing there. So we need to continue to gather information. But staff is requesting that you consider us moving forward on this transportation study. I can let you know the 2 transportation studies that we use in Public Works. One is dated in 1976, and the other one is dated in 1992. I think this community has changed since those 2 times. And the other thing is transportation studies have changed a little bit, because now people are looking at all modes of traffic versus trying to move volume of traffic as fast as they can. So now we've got to throw in those 2 other modes. So this is a piece of that transportation study. We kind of need to do a broader transportation study for our community, but this is a first leg of it. I can tell you that our proposal is to study Fulton from Main to Campus, or Fleming. Campus is from 50 to Mary Street. Mary Street from Taylor to the bypass. I think I'm leaving out one.
Main.
Main's already included, we've already done that.
Jenny Barker.
And then Jenny Barker, yes. Jenny Barker from 50 to Shulman. It's a big 4-lane road. We just don't have the traffic volume. It might be a good time. And this year we are going to blacken each one of those stretches, so it'd be a good time to restripe them if we want to do that. So this study would help. Part of that study as well is it was brought up to look at roundabouts, maybe some easier crossing methods at a few of these intersections. Some of these intersections are going to grow in importance, so we felt like we needed a consultant to relook at these intersections. And those intersections is Jenny Barker and Spruce. Got a lot of construction going on that side of the community. Jenny Barker and Shulman, LaRue and Leslie. That's over by Applebee's. It's a 3-way stop. Is there a better way of handling that traffic? We would like this consultant to look at that if you guys so choose. LaRue and Shulman, is there a better way to do that? We kind of got an angle problem on there that we'd like to relook at. Are we handling the high school entrance correctly? So Mary and the entrance into the high school, we'd like to see another pair of eyes look at that. And then Fulton and Main, that was brought up in the summit, is a possibility to put a roundabout there and do something else than what we have. So that is the first attempt of a study. We did ask the board if they supported it. They did support, the Traffic Advisory Board supported this study, as well as the, what do you call your board, Greg? The
Community Health Advisory Board.
We went to them and talked to them about the study, and they also supported us doing something at this direction. So,
How long would that study take to accomplish, do you know?
we would like to get it done this year. We're already collecting the data, just in case. We've been counting data for the last 2 months. We've had counters out. If you notice, there are counters on on campus right now. We've been doing it everywhere. All those intersections have been counted. We're just trying to get ahead of the curve in case you guys approve it, and so to speed up the process. If we want to speed up the process, we can do 2 things. We can do phone interviews. Steve and I, and if a commissioner wants to be involved in that, we can do phone interviews to speed up that process. Or we can call them in and do it like we normally do on RFQs. So if you choose to move forward on the study, we'd sure like to have one of you there too.
I think the traffic study sounds like a great idea. I'd hate to put in this crossing and then students not use it, or whoever, pedestrians would not use it because it's just we're not conducive. Sometimes people don't want to walk another half a block and they'll just cross the street anyway.
Where are they crossing it? By the dorms or what?
Actually, we have about 25 students in 4 days that were crossing at the intersection of Spruce and Campus, which was good. And they were walking all the way down and then coming back down to the Old West, leave Old West, go all the way back to Spruce and cross, which was amazing. And I was surprised we had 25, 26 students doing that. The majority of them, about 106 or 108 of the crossings, was just north of the dorms, right across from where that church is. Mm-hmm. Right where the proposal was for the crosswalk, there was 84 students. Then if you move further to the north, about where the basketball arena is, we had another 25, 26. Then if you move down to the baseball field, we had about 5 crossing there. So they were crossing all up and down the road. So,
but you have more up by where the basketball area is coming out of there. When they're into football, you get all them football players, and they go just the same way as a crow goes, across the street, not laterally. It's
Angle.
Angle. Yeah. They're not going to go by a crosswalk, and they defy you to hit them.
Yeah. Well, one of the questions would be, is a flashing light the right way to go? Do we put 3 crosswalks there and just sign it so that we've got some kind of warning for them to cross, and let the pedestrian and the vehicle motorist make the best decision? While we were there, we was also counting the safe gaps. Did the student have plenty of time to get across the street? 163 times there was no traffic. All of them made it across, groups of 5, no problem. 16 times there was a group of students that had to wait 5 to 10 to 15 seconds to wait for that gap. We only had one instance where a bad decision was made, and that student decided not to wait, and he tried to beat the traffic. If he would have waited 5 to 10 seconds, he would have had the gap that was needed to cross, but he darted out in front of traffic. The crosswalk's not going to fix that. That's a decision-making process that they need to make. So,
Is this one day?
this is 4 days we count.
4 days.
So if we're,
From 7 to 5 o'clock, we had somebody there counting.
if we're heading into the fall, I mean, there is an interest on both the part of the city and part of the college to make some effort to improve the situation. Could we try some of our paint plus sign options? Because the paint's going to go away in a year anyways, wear out. Some oversized crosswalk, sort of like you see in the metro, or some 20-foot wide big striped thing. And then we seal over it or paint over it if it ends up becoming, we do the road diet or we do something else along that corridor after the study. But I'd imagine the recommendations of the study and our ability to implement it aren't going to be all in place by the first week of August or the last week of July, which is where it'd have to be to get it in time for next fall.
I think the striping and the crosswalks, if that's what we think is the best solution, I think we can come close to meeting that.
Do we need the best solution, or do we just need
some
a
assistance?
solution to make it better than it is now, and then we get the best solution coming out of the study and then subsequent visits with the college? The argument could be made, you only have 34% crossing at the place where there was proposed to be a sign, or one of the places, the most popular place proposed to be a sign. But if there was the sign there, how many would cross it? If the signal was there, would there be more? Maybe yes, maybe no. We've got examples on Mary Street. That sign is used all the time. I mean, nobody crosses on Sunday between those facilities, both owned by the church, without hitting the sign. At the hospital, nobody uses them.
Right. Depending on where they're funneled in. At the church, it's perfect location
Yeah.
because they're all funneled there.
Right.
At the hospital, they're crossing everywhere because they
None of the
can't
doors
exit.
line up with
Yeah,
the-
none of the doors line up, and same way with the college, you're seeing
Most
that.
people aren't gonna walk out of their way to use that crosswalk.
Yeah, and it was surprising that the new facility across the street, the old West building, that was a concern, and we didn't have that many coming out of there because most of the people that went there drove there. What was surprising me though is people used it as a parking lot and walked over to the main campus.
Oh, really?
And that was where we were getting.
Because they couldn't find a parking place.
So what would affect that location, and that was something that, if we knew that they were gonna expand the parking lot for that building, that's gonna create more pedestrians there because I think people will park there to walk across. When they finish their football parking, people are gonna decide to park there because they don't wanna hassle the parking lot over the other side, and you're gonna have more pedestrians. Things will change in the future.
The cost of a sign isn't that tremendous. If the commission wanted to experiment with something there, paint or a sign, we could do it on a temporary basis, understanding that this proposal could redo that. I think the principle sort of offered by the Traffic Advisory Board, it sounds to me as if they said the study that we're talking about is addressing the issue that's being requested, and so at this time they didn't approve it. But of the 4 people that were there, they were split. I mean, that really wasn't an outright denial, it was the absence of a majority. So if the commission wanted to do something, I think the expense isn't so great that that would be a bad decision. I just think everybody would need to understand that if we do a study, whatever we put in could get retooled.
So, do we need 2 separate motions here?
Yes.
Okay, so we're on number 2, really, is where we started, right?
Right.
And I think traffic obviously has changed considerably. We have very experienced and capable people, but sometimes that's what, you need that third, like you said, some fresh eyes to look at things, and I think it's reasonable. We're growing quickly, lots, traffic, even on the weekends, trying to move around town is, which is great because there's a lot of people, a lot of out-of-county tags, and we want them here, we've invited them, and it's not a complaint, it's just a fact. So studying this seems like a fairly reasonable thing to do, and so I would move to approve the solicit letters of interest for the transportation study.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? None being, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Number 1, I think a basic crosswalk seems, unless I'm missing something, like a reasonable thing to do in the interim. Short of putting up, at least it's there, use it or don't use it, and some signs to let people know there is, and
See if it works.
like I said, I don't think that's going against the Traffic Advisory Committee, or it's not really giving the college fully what they're asking for, but maybe that comes out of the study and some future discussions. And so, I think that some kind of crosswalk there seems like a reasonable. I drive that regularly, and I don't want to slow down if I don't have to. I certainly would slow down for people trying to walk across the street. That's not a problem.
One thing is that if you come out of the dorms, there's really not a sidewalk going over to the street, is there?
There is a sidewalk, actually across about where that south entrance is, that south entrance road, and there is a sidewalk that gets you
Yeah,
there.
there,
But the problem is they got setback sidewalks, and they're quite a ways back. They're
No
19
connection.
feet, there's no connection to the street, so we would have to build a sidewalk, and also you have to
See,
meet
then now you're
ADA.
picking
So you
locations.
would have to build ADA ramps too.
Yeah.
That's,
I make a motion
That's the
we-
thing I was missing.
I make a motion we deny the request for the Garden City Community College and continue gathering traffic data to support the decision that is best for the college and the community.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
One thing you said was a fair number of people come down using the Spruce Street and then back up. if those people are going to the new stadium, and there's no entrance over there off of Spruce, and I think the college could help themselves out by putting in an unlocked entrance when it's just practice and that kind of thing going on. And that way, if they go to the trouble, they don't have to now walk clear back to Gene.
Yeah.
Or up somewhere along there, and then because if they're coming now, they've got to come clear back down across the field, because it seems to me that they congregate in the south end of the. It seems like there's always a lot of people doing their thing at the south end of the football field there.
No way to get out.
Well, they got to go clear north again, and so if they're coming from the dorms, give them an opportunity to walk straight down Spruce and right in, and they're there.
Part of the thing about the north of the dorms is if you look right across from where the church is, they provide an entrance there because they're planning on using the church's parking lot as parking for the football game. So that is.
There is a gate there?
I believe there is a
Okay.
gate there.
Well, maybe then they can.
And that's
communicate
what's
that to
creating them to walk there, I think. So-
A gate at the south end that, if you've got a game or something where people are paying to get in, then lock it up and forget about it. But, for the rest of the time, let their students and people, that would make that more walkable if they could choose the far north, the middle, if there's this gate at the church parking lot, great for the church that they're allowing people to do that across their gate. And then at the south end,
Sure.
and that right there, I think.
Is there a sidewalk all the way across on that?
On Spruce?
On Spruce on that end? So they'd have to, or somebody would have to pour some sidewalk if that was kind of a decision that.
But
was
it's
made
up to
get-
within 20 or 30 feet of their
Yeah,
property.
they can
or less, so.
they can diagonal across their own
Sure.
property.
Okay.
To get there.
Just an idea. You said, that people are actually coming down and heading back north. Well, they put in some kind of walk gate down there and leave it open during the daytimes when their student athletes are coming and going, their coaches, whatever, then that would maybe make it
And there's a
more enticing
crosswalk
to come
there,
down and
yeah.
use that crosswalk, wait for the light and all that kind of thing. Just a
Yep.
thought.
Yep. Okay, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 12I, the 25th Judicial District Community Corrections requests the reappointment of Honorable Peter Ramirez, representing as Garden City's representative to serve on their advisory board. Mr. Ramirez has agreed to continue serving. Our recommendation would be to appoint him.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Alright, and I'm going to invite Melinda up. She is going to continue with the budget.
Hello.
Hello. Well, this is the first meeting for your 2016 budget preparation. And since we have all seasoned people here, I think I can kind of fly through the worksheets now. The very first thing you have in your notebook is the 2015 calendar, and you have had that in your packet at your last meeting. And if you can just make note of those dates, they're pretty important. That you're able to be here to at least be on the approval process for the mill levy finalization. So we're looking at July 7th for that, and then July 21st for the public hearing. I can keep you up to date on the other meetings if you have to be on. There's just some background information on the budget process in your book. Also the budget assumptions that the department heads used when preparing their departmental budgets for the review with Matt and I. They're pretty much the same as they have been in the past as far as those assumptions go. I think you're going to notice as we go through our benefits that our capers and KP&F line items are getting fairly large. Then there's the financial policies and strategies in there. Talks about basis of accounting. If you ever need any sort of description as to what the funds are, you've got the special revenue fund descriptions in here, also the enterprise funds and the internal service. In the next section, you're going to have the goals that you came up with at your goal-setting meeting in February. So if you want to look, when you're looking at your budgets, you want to try to make sure you're meeting your objectives on those goals. You also have the 2015, a shortened version of the capital improvement projects that you can review before you go through those departments. And then a shortened view of the 2016 capital improvement projects. So those are there for your knowledge when you're going through those things. There's also the current general obligation debt schedule, and it takes you out to 2024 with the current issues that we have. And then we also have the utility funds general obligation debt schedule in there. There's the bond memo in there that you recently saw here in this meeting from Steve. That will be an important document to be reviewing, and we hope that we can make some decisions on that for the second meeting in May so that we can get with our financial advisor to start getting our information for our bond sale. Okay, so that takes us to the very first set of funds. So we're going through the special revenue funds today. These have a specific purpose. Probably the toughest one in here is the very first one, and that's the TIF fund. So I'll give you a little description on how this fund is working. It was just created last year. It has in it the TIF project payoff, the bond and interest for Shulman Crossing. We had phase 1 and phase 2. We're going to be selling the phase 2 bonds in October at the latest. So that debt goes along with phase 1, and you'll see that we have down in the expenses the interest and principal on bonds, 6507 and 6510. In 2015, we only had to pay interest, but when we get into 2016, that's where the principal and interest starts getting paid out, and that's roughly $1.1 million a year. The revenue to pay those is from the property taxes in the TIF district for the Shulman Crossing area. All of that money comes to the city of Garden City. So the $3950.01 is the tax distribution to the city of Garden City. As those businesses gain value, that number will get bigger that we will be bringing in, and that's what we want to happen. So there should be a little excess once all of those stores get built out in order to pay the debt. And if we can pay it off early, great. If not, it'll go 20 years.
20 years.
Yes. That sales tax CID, that is money that comes in with our sales tax receipts, and that is for the district that was created with Sammy's projects. So it comes into the city, and then we have an expense down below, 6606.03, that pays it out to him. So it's just an in and out.
That's the 1%.
That's the 1%.
That anything in his district,
Right.
people pay
Yeah.
extra.
It comes to the city of Garden City, and then we pay it out to him. Now, the other items in here are the RHIDs. So you have in the revenues here, Prairie Trails, 3950.02. It's roughly 32,000 for 2016. And when you go down below, the expense matches the revenue. We also have the Stone Edition as a TIF project. Now that would be the hotel, water park. What else is in that? Anything else?
Old Chicago.
Old Chicago. And so that would be the infrastructure for those facilities. The property taxes that are, those buildings aren't hardly built out yet. So we only have 60,000 coming in revenue, and these are truly estimates. But then you have an expense that gets paid to Stone Development for that. You also have some RHIDs. Pioneer Road was the very first one that you did. 102,000 next year, and we're paying them out 102,000 down below in 6606.04. Same way with Maggie's Edition, the revenue equals the expense down below. and then we also have chapel. So that's, all the money comes into the city. We have to track every piece of property that's in those districts. And then we send out the check once it's paid to the county treasurer. She remits it to us and then we pay it out.
So, like on the other ones, as they start to get built out, those numbers will increase.
Right.
Okay.
We don't keep any of the RHID money. The only money that, we're keeping is basically the TIF money in our accounts.
And we only reimburse what have been approved, authorized expenditures. So it's not like they're
goes
going
on
to
forever.
use this for the full term.
So once
when we
these-
hit the max level, we stop.
It's done. Okay.
And the only one that we have finalized out right now is Pioneer Road. And the city actually did all of the costs on that, and we were reimbursed by the developer. And so we have all those certified costs. So the other developments there, they will be certifying their costs to us. So we'll have to track that over a period of 15 to 20 years. I won't be here, but somebody will.
Oh, you'll be
So anyway, so this is how this fund works. And it's, it's gonna get fairly large as the years go on. I showed a couple of debt schedules for you in here. The very first one is already done. And then we have an estimate of what we're gonna be selling here in October. That takes care of Shulman Crossing debt. Okay. So that is the TIF, RHID, and CID fund, all in a nutshell. The next fund is Capital Improvement Reserve. I think all of you know that at the end of every year, if we have money that we haven't spent in our general fund or a taxing fund, that's a project that we request that we transfer that money into here. We have quite a bit of money in the 05 right now. We started out with $940,431 in 2015, but we do have that categorized into all the expenses that it was carried over for. The largest expense is on page 2, and that is for the elephant yard. We have roughly $409,000 that we're holding to try and decide what we're going to be doing with the elephant yard, if anything. So that money is sitting in there. The other larger expense is repair buildings on the first page, 5370.01, $154,905. That is for all of the windows in this building, plus the new electrical upgrade, plus the cleaning and everything that we're doing on this building.
Windows done?
Yeah, the windows are done. And they work and look very nice.
Electrical's gonna be done into this year or something? Or?
Yeah, that's our intention, is to try to get it done before the end of this year.
Okay.
We also had some money down at the bottom there for the fire study and equipment. So this is just all carryover money, and then in 2016, that's just we're just setting a budget. We have no idea what we'll be carrying over. It's just putting some numbers in there so that we have something to budget with. And that's $415,000 for 2016. The CD loan fund, Fund 6, is the community development loan. It's where you can go in and do some home improvements for insulation, for energy assistance in your home. You can apply for one of those loans with them. They hire the contractor does the work. City pays the contractor, and then the person pays back over a period of time, interest-free. And so those numbers are just what we're thinking might happen. We carried over $15,251. We have loan payments coming in, and we have an expense going out this year of $10,005, and then next year we're budgeting the full fund at $18,000. Cemetery endowment, this is a fund that right now we carried over $30,369 into 2015. They get a portion of the cemetery space. This fund does $50 for every space sold. So there is a little revenue coming in from there. We also own some farm ground that's located out around the cemetery, and we lease that out for farming, $975 a year on that. We have some money invested, so we have some interest income. We're required to pay the cemetery markers for sunset when needed. Those are those bronze markers, that was part of the deal. So we budget $3,000 a year on that. Cemetery improvement, we have some capital projects and or a new structure that the cemetery would like to incorporate into the Valley View Cemetery, and we've got Kelly here. I don't know if any of you have heard anything about a columbarium structure, and that would be, would you like to come up and just tell them real quick what that is? Because I sure didn't know what it was, but I think it's a nice idea.
Good afternoon, newly elected madam and commissioners. This is a picture I took in Hayes, or was sent to me, and I went to Hayes to visit the cemetery. This is kind of a proactive step to help slow down land consumption for developing our cemetery. At this point, the current trend, I know it seems like a long ways off, but we will have consumed the rest of our land in about 80 to 100 years. And so I'm trying to find ways to slow that down a little bit. Also to enhance the Bellevue section, kind of near where the mausoleum is located. And what this is just, they're little niches, little cubicles where people put their cremation urns in. And this is not only an enhancement feature for that area, obviously some flowers and some landscaping, but also a revenue source for the cemetery and for the city, in Garden City. And we're looking at, we had a project, fencing project scheduled for this year and in the second phase for next year. We were looking at combining those two phases and finishing that project. However, after visiting with Matt and Melinda, this might be a route we can take to proceed with this type of a project. What I'm looking at this time is starting the irrigation infrastructure that's needed for this, as well as a patio area. And our first section of, first columbarium will be installed. Where's?
Is it over, it would be over by the mausoleum then?
Yes, just west of the mausoleum.
Okay.
And I'm going to be short. Sam?
Want me to pick you up?
Want me to
What?
Stand on my chair, but I know that. Currently, the mausoleum is right here. Is there a pointer or something?
No, I don't, it's in my office, I'm
I
sorry.
can jump up, but
Wait a minute. Just
I'll use the gavel.
don't
yeah.
hit the. Just use that.
Currently, this is Main Street entrance, and the mausoleum is located right in this area.
Yeah.
So if you want to just, can you scroll this over? There's an L-shaped area here. It follows the road, and I'm looking at where this little black line is right there is an 8-inch backflow device that comes in and feeds part of the cemetery. We're looking at developing this entire area with columbarium, patios, and maybe other type of structures that would encourage cremations.
Are those concrete, built out of concrete?
They're built out of granite.
Granite?
Our first section that I'm looking at is going to be developed right in this area, and then we'll develop more as we go this way and as that plan begins to develop.
How many are you thinking of, entirety of that area?
Pardon me?
How many are you? Like 10, 5?
Oh, no, well,
3?
the area that I'm currently going to put on about 3 of them on those, on
Okay.
the current patio that I want to
And
design.
they hold how many?
And they'll hold 48. It's a 48 niche columbarium.
Will the sale of those pay for that?
Pardon me?
Will the sale of the individual pay for that?
I'm hoping, initially, we're going to be returning that money back into the initial development, but they should pay for themselves and generate some revenue on top of that.
How big are they?
They're the entire structure.
No, the individual.
They're about 12 by 12 niches.
So you could you put 2 in there?
Yes, and then that's an additional cost if you got a second cremation. So,
Is that the way we're heading, that cremation, or is?
Right now, they have to buy a full plot
Okay.
if they want to bury.
Sure.
yeah, the trend is we're running about 30% cremations. That continues to increase. Statewide, it's about 40%, and nationwide, it's about 50%.
So they buy,
it's
so they buy the
reimbursed.
whole, they buy the whole plot, and it takes up the whole plot just
Yes.
for that one cremation?
Uh-huh.
We normally encourage them to, we'll install the cremation in an area that will allow multiple cremation burials in that space.
Okay.
However, if one person, that's all they do, then we've wasted
That whole plot.
that whole space for one
Yeah,
smaller.
this makes a lot more sense. than-
This will. You laughing behind me. So at this point, the initial numbers that are coming in for the construction, or just the initial infrastructure for irrigation, we're looking somewhere between 30 to 40,000. And that's the installation of one columbarium with a patio, and we will be.
Kind of something like what we're seeing right now.
Correct.
Is about 30.
The area where the flowers planted, the elongated portion, is actually irrigated with the intent, at some point when that columbarium fills, they will install
Just
another
put it on
columbarium
top.
on top of that.
Okay.
And we will do the same, have the same concept.
What's the cost of a niche?
Per niche,
Yeah.
it varies. You could be anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000, depending upon what country you're in. But I think we personally can get away with $1,200 to $1,500 per niche, and that varies between the location of the niche. If you're on a lower one, you're less likely to pay for that. Eye level is more
Eye level.
appealing.
Okay.
So,
We all learned something new today, didn't we?
Yeah.
yeah,
So-
my eye level,
so
not
it's-
Sam's eye level.
So on there, is there like a plaque then with their name?
Uh-huh.
Is that what the little gold things are? Or
No,
or is it like inscribed into is it like granite in the niche area? It's inscribed, or is it just a plaque?
Okay.
I don't know, I'm asking.
I know. The niche is covered by black. Ours will look like this because it'll be engraved. That entire square panel will have an engraving. They'll all be uniform, so nothing. It's appealing, and they can put the name, death date, birthday on this.
So the black is actually granite too, and
Correct.
that'll be engraved with the
Right.
the information. Okay.
And it'll be what we call etching, which allows it to not have to be repainted, and it'll last for years.
Sure.
They have
And there's a
little,
place to even put flowers too, isn't
yeah,
there?
you see below each little square, there's a little black dot that you can see.
Uh-huh.
Those are actually a brass clip for a vase, which most likely we will allow just because we get a lot of decorating at our cemetery, so.
We do.
Learn
Year
something
round.
new, like you say, learn something new every day.
So that's what we're looking at, and it'll help our revenues for us, so, and enhance our cemetery.
Well, definitely if they're buying a whole plot for just an urn, this would definitely make more sense than,
What is the cost comparison between a plot and this?
Niche.
Well, if you consider, what's appealing to about these is you're buying a burial spot and your monument at the same time. So for $1,500, those of you who have either bought one or know people who have bought them, you cannot buy the burial space, bury the person, and buy the monument for that amount of money. So that's the appeal.
Casket's $3,000 or $4,000.
Right.
yeah.
So with that in mind, and as we add more and more, then as we landscape, I think the appeal there will be incredible. People will want to be in those areas.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. That looks nice.
Anything else?
So is it gonna,
It's amazing how that's the same.
is it gonna, where you're gonna place it, is it gonna get blocked by the fence area for that backflow? Because you've got fence around that backflow
Right.
Device there, and so where you, is it gonna get blocked from the view, or?
Oh, now we got the gavel again.
Uh-oh. I mean, are you gonna move it further
We're
down?
going to have a spacing here, and then we'll have a row of trees that'll go from the road to the fence.
Okay.
And then it'll be outlined with trees
Okay.
around the perimeter of this, and it'll be self-contained. But once you come around the corner, you'll probably still be able to see the columbariums from the road. There won't be a solid wall of trees.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just, you know, I mean, there's other cemeteries you can't see. I like our cemetery where you can see the landscaping.
Uh-huh.
You can see the graves and everything. I just don't want it, if it's that way, I don't want it to be blocked where people can't see it. I mean.
We want them to see it, but
Yeah.
we wanted to show that it's a special area. Which
I was just concerned if you're coming up, you can't see it because of the fencing. I don't want it too close to that backflow valve where the fencing, it's being blocked by the fence, but it sounds like you're gonna have it far enough away that.
There'll be some, it'll block probably some view, but it won't be, yeah.
I'll leave it to the experts, never mind. Okay.
Anyway, it's a great concept.
Yeah.
So you'll be looking into that.
Right, thank you.
Thanks.
Let's see, so that 21,100 expenses in 2015.
So are we gonna, you're
He's
gonna
gonna
do this year?
investigate
Oh, okay.
and report back to you. We're just allowing some money in there for either or on those projects.
So it could possibly be done by this year, well, actually next year then?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Good, okay.
Okay. Fund 8 is the Community Trust Fund. Coming into 2015, we had $1,650,502. This is in and out with KDOT. We pay some expenses that we have, shared expenses with KDOT, and then they reimburse us back. That's why you see a revenue and expense for them. Rec Commission has a loan on the house on 6th Street on the corner that they're paying back to the city. That should be paid off in 2017. And then also, the general fund pays back Community Trust $40,000 a year for the airport building that we purchased back in 2012. It's a 5-year payment of $40,000 apiece. Like I say, the expense that comes out is for KDOT. We carried over $1,123,000 in 2016. And we have those same 2 loan repayments. And then I'm budgeting the full amount in contracted projects, just to budget the full fund in case you need use of those budgeted funds for any special project. But I would imagine that $2 million will be carried over into 2017. Fund 10 is DEA forfeiture. They carried over $18,079 in 2015. This is the federal portion of our drug forfeiture funds. We have $20,000 being spent on special projects related to those activities that go on. Carrying over $13,100 in 2016, and we're budgeting the full amount of the fund in 2016 of $28,150. That's just to be used in their special investigations. Fund 11 is drug enforcement. This is the local drug task force money. We carried over $70,498. We're anticipating some drug forfeiture money coming in here. This fund also takes care of the canines that we have, canine dog expenses. And also the local portion of the drug money that they need. So we have $32,548 budgeted for 15, carried over 57. We're budgeting the full fund in case they need it of $75,550. Fund 15 is the Enhanced Wireless 911 funds. We carried over $359,728 here. They received telephone franchise money off of, this is off of cell phones. We have maintenance contracts that we pay out for the communications. There's also new equipment needed. They are building this fund up for new radios in probably 2017, 2018. So we are carrying over $369,750 into 2016, have roughly the same costs. We're going to budget the full fund just to carry over those monies in anticipation of the new equipment. Okay, then Fund 18 is the Finnick Trust Fund. This is a fund that is shared between Zoo and Parks. They apply for grants with the Finnick Foundation, and over the last several years, as you can see in the revenues, we have received $95,000 for a long time. In 2013, we received some additional funds for purchase of land. But for 2015, we carried over from previous projects $89,956. So those projects are budgeted in 2015, along with the new money coming in, which has not yet been awarded, but we're making some estimates on that amount of money coming in at $95,400 this year and $95,000 in 2016. They also allocate some funds for the maintenance of the FinUp Center. $13,550 is estimated for 15, $13,750 for 16. And if you can go to the next page, you can kind of see what is detailed out for the FinUp Trust projects. Sam, if you want to come up and talk about any certain ones here, sure.
This is kind of Allen's. We're making that switch over from Allen, but we try to track all these projects in the park and the zoo. We work together to make sure that we stay on track with these expenditures, but I really don't have. The big thing for parks is we ask for $10,000 a year. We have one more piece of property that we'd like to purchase over at FinUp Scout Park. And that should finish that, but that's kind of the extra thing that's in there. The rest of it's pretty normal maintenance items. Christy's not here to answer for the zoo, but they're
And I
pretty
told her,
maintenance.
yeah, she has Earth Day tomorrow, so she needs to get set up for all of us. But it's a nice amount of money that they give to the city for the beautification, actually, of the parks and the FinUp Park area. Any questions on that? Revolving, this fund had a negative carryover. There was some expenses paid out of the Windsor project in 2014 that were reimbursed in 2015. That's why you see that negative number up there. I think that project that we were holding the money for is completed for the Windsor. We paid out.
It will be.
Okay, we're budgeting all the money. Yeah. Okay, we're close.
Yeah, it's somewhere 2/3-ish.
Okay.
In progress. It's still got a ways to go.
This fund used to have a lot of activity years ago with insurance, hail damage money. And it used to be a really big fund. And we budget a little bit for it, but we really hope we don't get any.
Yeah.
So it takes care of those expenses. Okay, so that's revolving. Risk management, we transfer leftover insurance money into here every year that's left over in order to pay deductibles on any sort of vehicle deductible or general liability deductibles that would come across through claims. We carried over $161,338 into 2015. We're budgeting for some expenses in general liability. We have had some of those claims been paid off this year. So we're budgeting $145,338 in expenses, carrying over 46, and budgeting the full fund with total expenses in 2016 estimated at $76,000. This is a good fund to have. That way it doesn't come out of the department's budget if they have a police car wrecks and we need $5,000 for the deductible, then we'll take it out of here. Special alcohol drug abuse. This is your AFAC money. We carried over $55,144 into 2015. We have $85,000 that has been approved for payout in 2015. And there's a history back here that C-Lin keeps for you on all of the agencies on your next page that you can see where that money has been awarded throughout the years. I think that's good information, especially when you're out talking to people in the public that, the city has supported these organizations through their liquor tax money. We're budgeting the full fund in 2016 at $90,000 or at $150,000 total, so that would zero out that fund. But that's a good use of that money. The other good use of that money, a third of it comes into Fund 30. Liquor tax money, it goes 1/3 to the general fund, 1/3 to AFAC, and then 1/3 to special ed parks. So this $80,000 coming in in Fund 30 for 2015 is just 1/3 of that money. 2015 expenses, we always allocate $20,000 to the Rec Commission. We've got landscaping and tree loan expenses in here for the parks. We also have a park improvement of $20,000 in 2015, and that is at the Wildcat Shelter and Playground Equipment that was just recently put in.
I believe it's almost done or not done. And then in 16, the shelter is scheduled for Santa Fe Park.
Then we also have, in 2015, new equipment golf, $20,000. That's to pay off the final lease payment on the new golf carts that we got out there. Then the $70,000 for the transfer golf course, that is 25,000 of it is actually the normal transfer, and we increased it so that we're presenting to you a request at a later meeting for a master plan, and that would pay for it. So, and then the 2016 expenses are roughly about the same. And the golf course transfer goes back down to 25. Any questions on Special Rec and Parks? The next fund is the general fund street maintenance, and we present this because it also goes along with Fund 32 special traffic way. The general fund takes care of all of the employee costs for the street department. There's 16 employees both years. There's no request for any additional employees. It also takes care of all of the benefits for those 16 employees. And then maintenance traffic signals, Sam's going to talk to you about that, and also the public transportation costs. If you want to let them know what's going on with the 100,000, Sam, in 2015. And also, I have included the CityLink spreadsheet.
In 15, our proposal is continue upgrades of our school zones, traffic signals. You're constantly, the technology keeps changing, or the equipment gets old and you have to replace it. The other 50,000, that's where we're going to pay for the transportation study that you just authorized in 15. And then we're back to just regular intersection maintenance on equipment. The repair, street repair material, that's the general fund share of our program. It's a pretty expensive program to seal all the streets, crack seal, chip seal, and then also we're doing some stuff with our own crews. Eventually, I'm hoping in the future you'll see that start going down. We're using our own crews. And then transportation, public transportation, the bus system, this is where we fund that, the city share of that operation. In that transportation cost is 2 shelters, proposed shelters. Those usually get cut every year, but the 2 locations that we're looking at, one is at the high school on that circle where people end up parking, the students over there on Cherokee on that circle. Sure. We'd like to put a shelter there for the students. And then also, isn't there a bench there now? There's a bench, but there's no shelter to get out of the wind. And of course up there's no windbreak anyway. Right. And then the other one is at Menards. Try to start getting a drop-off location at Menards, Old Chicago, that shopping center area. Those are the 2 proposed locations for 15. Or I'm sorry, 16.
So that takes care of this general fund street department expenses, and then we go into Fund 32 special traffic way. We carried over into 2015 $971,544, and if you take a look at state highway funds, we are seeing if you go back to 2012 and take a look at what we're estimating for 2015, you see a slight decline in those funds. Those funds are very important to the city. If they would go away, it would really be detrimental to the general fund.
If you would even go back to 92, they were close to $1 million. So that's how far they've cut over the years. And they keep notching into that, and that's a concern of staff, is this will affect the general someday in the future. And that's the reason why the general's also picking up some of the street material, because we used to fund it all in this, but since they've made their cuts, that's gradually moving over into the general fund.
That's what the revenue is made up, is state highway funds. We also get some signal funds for signals that we maintain for the Kansas Department of, for KDOT.
And county, we're also maintaining a traffic signal for Benton County as well.
And so then the next page is your street operation expenses. The biggest line item in here, like Sam said, would be 553007, the street repair material. You recently received your bids for this year?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we did have some cost savings, some good bids, some 90 bids, which is good to see. We caught the oil and a good downward turn, so.
And the new equipment is detailed on the next page. They're looking at, for 15, a 15-foot swing mowing deck and a half-ton four-wheel drive pickup. Also a skid loader buyback program. 2016, the same skid loader. They're looking at an asphalt patch truck. You might want to talk about that.
That's a 3-year lease. Our patch truck is a 1973 model. That is the last well, I think it's older. 92, I'm sorry. It's a 92. I was thinking of the tractor. But that's the last really big piece of equipment that needs to be replaced. Street department is in really good shape when it comes to equipment, snow fighting as well as street repair. Street department is in really good shape. But this is the last piece. But it's so expensive that we have to do it in a 3-year lease. And one of the things we'd like to do to this is, instead of just using it for 3 months out of the year, we can put a snow plow on it. We can also use it as a salt and sand spreader too. So we're going to use this truck year round instead of just 3 months out of the year.
Like a removable bed even for the ceiling part of it?
Yeah. Well, actually, what we do with this one, we actually go get hot mix. It goes into a hopper, and that hopper keeps it warm so we can do patches all over town.
But you can lift that out, or?
It comes out on a conveyor chute, and you just dump it in the hole.
If you wanted it for sand, you could put sand in it too.
If we do it in sand, it just goes through the auger system and goes into a attachment you put on it, and it kicks out as a spreader, just like salt and sand. So.
And let's see. So that makes the total operational costs $787,515 and $805,500 in 2016. And if you go back a couple pages, you're going to have street signs and markings. Total cost there both years, $57,000. I think you are in the process, Sam, of redoing street signs to the new size.
Yeah. Part of that 50,000 that's in the general for traffic signals, we're also kind of mandated to start replacing our street name signs and go to a bigger letter. I guess we're getting older, so we're getting blinder, I guess, but we're required to put 6-inch letters now with a 9-inch plate. So some of these street names are going to be pretty good. So we're going to start phasing that in at the same time. When we go to
Is that a new regulation?
That's a new regulation. They haven't mandated a date, but they are putting some language in there that says when you replace them, you better start doing it. And we're at a time now, we replaced them in early 90, and we're starting, our signs are starting to fade out. So this is the time to start replacing. So if you're going to replace them, you better replace them with the 6-inch letter.
Sure.
And so we're in that process now. But it's not, they didn't specify a certain date that we have it done, but they are starting to get close to that.
They're putting more pressure.
That's
what you're saying. Okay.
Don't replace the easy street, would you?
Yeah.
Is it
We replace it,
everybody
but it
steals
disappears.
it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is if we move to these 3-lane roads, if we start doing a lot more striping, you're gonna see this fund probably jump up a little bit in the future. The 40,000 is a lot of paint. We'll probably double that in the future by doing that, so.
Okay.
So we're looking at, oh, and then we have snow removal also as part of this section, and it's 25,000 a year. So the total special traffic way fund, 869,500 in 2015. We're budgeting the total fund in 2016, so we're showing $1,484,800.
What is 25,000 good for? How many big?
Pretty much the salt and sand. We are so sufficient now. We used to contract out. We would plow and we'd hire contractors to haul it off. We're getting so efficient now with our crews and our equipment. We have a lot more equipment now that we just do it all. So all we're doing is paying for salt and sand from the county.
What about if we had a worse winter and there was more overtime?
That goes into the general fund where we pay our employees. So I build that into the overtime through them.
The next page, it has equipment in the street department, and he projects out a 5-year program, which is always nice to take a look at to see where our big costs will be coming in the future. Fund 35. Any questions?
The asphalt recycler, is that like a grinder type thing, or?
We put that in 2015, but we think the patch truck is more important, so we're gonna keep getting some demos and really test that out. But what that does is if you have a stockpile of old asphalt and they're small chunks, you just throw it in there, throw a little oil in it, it heats up and you can reuse it. And we've done that over on Henderson. We demoed one and that patch is holding up pretty good. We think that is something we should look into, but we don't have a lot of asphalt. We would have to buy some asphalt, but we have a little bit of a mountain setting down at the 3 outlet that we could probably use up. So, and I think there's some out at the airport as well.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Fund 35 is work comp. This fund used to be self-funded, but back in 2013, we went to a premium with KMET. So we budget 110 per employee, full-time employee in every department. So that amounted to revenue coming in to this fund of $442.50. We are getting a pretty good balance in this fund because we've had some decreases in our premium for work comp. This year, it went from $298 last year to $250 this year. So we are reducing the amount from the departments down to $90 per employee. So that takes the revenue down in 2016 to $351. Then we have the expenses shown here, administrative fee, that's what we have to pay to the state for claims payments. We are projecting a transfer into the work comp reserve in 2015. Transfer $150,000 from this fund into Fund 36. You'll see that on the next page. And that should take care of work comp for hopefully a few years. So Fund 36, it has $480,000 in it currently. Our prior claims for when we were self-funded come out of here, so we're holding that balance until we're for sure that all of those claims have been paid. But we do have the opportunity to put $150,000 in this year. That'll take it up to $630. We're looking at payments out this year of roughly $150 from those old claims, carrying over $480. Budget the full fund in 2016, but hopefully there's going to be some money in that fund that we can utilize in the future.
Are they staying steady, the claims?
This will be a good year to find out with work comp. So how they're going to treat us with, since we have had the Department of Labor in and those things this year.
Okay.
So that will probably let us know how our claims are going to be doing. So, but we have plenty of money in there to cover a pretty good increase in work comp. Should it happen.
Okay.
So, that's Fund 35 and 36. Fund 50, Community Development. This was the emergency shelter grant. I went ahead and budgeted into that line item in case there's another grant that comes around that we want to sponsor, an in and out grant, just so that you have some money in there that you can work with. That's all it is. It was with Emmaus House, and I think they found somebody else to be their supporters, so but if someone else came along and you wanted that opportunity, you got the money in there, or the budget authority to do it. Fund 52, Economic Development Loan. We have $386,788 in there. We're currently receiving payments on the Sinfully Sweet Bakery and the Estes Corp., which is the A&W facility, and also the Paraclete Group. We have had some correspondence with the Department of Commerce that they want to come out and look at our loan files. That always is an indication to me that they're wanting to find out if we're going to spend this money. So if you have any opportunity to get a small business in here that would qualify for these loans, it would be a great time to be getting some names on that list.
Could we pay our dues to Great Plains?
We do pay our dues out of there to them.
Yeah, we did last year.
That's in the consulting fee.
Is it?
Yeah. We pay whatever they to administer our loans. Yeah.
Has there been any activity?
No.
Downtown Division is promoting it. But
I think
We've
everybody.
We've had some. There's some.
You're on the board still?
Yeah, I'm president this year, so.
Do you have any?
Funded.
Do you have any?
Yeah, it's.
Anything
I tell you
coming?
what, we've got 2 directors, and instead of just the one.
Mm-hmm.
It was really a mess when she left, and they got it now. We even lost our 501c3 for a while. So now we've got it back where it's going, and we're a little tougher on loans now. You got to put some money in to get money. And before, they were just letting anybody, you could walk in there and get money and not put anything in. Well, if you don't have any money in the game,
You don't have
it's
much to
easy.
lose.
Well, it's easy to walk away and say, "Well, here's the key. I'll see you." So we're trying to,
Gotta have skin in the game.
yeah, we're trying to make it a little tougher, and it's working better.
So it sounds like we need to promote this a little bit more,
Yeah.
have, the entities that try to attract businesses promote it a little bit more.
In fact, she's going to be here, I think, the first week in May. One of the co-directors will be here.
So you're saying, is there a possibility that we could get reduced funding or lose funding?
Well, there's always that possibility that they might
want you to use it.
pull some of this money back to the state level.
Yeah.
If we're not using it.
there?
Just a little.
It won't even
So
be a
it's-
drop in the bucket.
It's their money to pull back.
It's a, what it was some CDBG money that we had back in the 1970s. And when they closed out that fund at the state level, they let the local entities keep the amount of money that they had on the books in order to give out these loans. So they let us administer it through Great Plains. But it was state money to start with in the beginning. Okay, and then Fund 53 is, we have $250,000 in there for project development. We were using that before the RHIDs for several developers that had special assessments that would go on the books. But instead, what we did, we reimbursed them the special assessment amounts when they sold lots. So that way, that lot, when they sold it, didn't have any special assessments on it. So it was a roundabout way of doing an RHID years ago. We still have a little bit of activity on that, but it's pretty much dead in the water right now, really, with the RHID, the new tool that we're using. So we might reallocate this money to something else. It originated, the $250,000 originated from the Community Trust Fund. but it's sitting in here now, so it's something to think about. I budgeted the full fund in case you want to use it.
Can you use it for anything?
Well, I think it would just have to have a issue that it could be associated with, and maybe presented to all of you 5, and you could either put it back in the community trust or use it as a project. Wouldn't you feel that way, Steve?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we haven't had any activity from.
Good morning.
From we haven't had any activity with the developers on it.
John Chapel's still got that Eagle Crest development up on Campus Drive is the last one. Sassaman and Ryan on East Cambridge, or
they're paid up.
They'll be paying out if they haven't already paid up everything they got.
Yeah.
So it's
Not
it
needed.
could go away one of these days pretty soon. Reallocate somewhere.
This loan payment here to the KCC for 2000.
Oh, that's
is
that one
is
little,
that-
remember that energy efficiency program
Oh,
that we
yeah.
had? This fund takes care of that too. So we have one piece of property on Main Street
Right.
that got
And then
approved for that.
this.
And then so they're paying us and then we pay the KCC. And it's like a 20-year bookkeeping.
Oh.
We charge him every month on his electric bill.
Oh,
And,
really?
yeah, and then we pay the KCC every quarter. So,
Okay. All right.
so,
Very good.
okay. Well, is there any questions that I could answer for you? No? Very good.
We're on our way.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Good job. Thanks, Brenda.
Thanks.
You subbing?
That was the, I'm the sub. Yeah.
Thank you.
Short sub.
Oh.
That'd be short meeting, right?
Smart sap.
Yes, we do have short.
There you
go.
Yeah.
I think, Mayor, the only item left on your agenda is the consent agenda. And that would be, should you approve it, would be item J1 through J6A.
I move that we approve consent agenda J1 through 6A.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Yeah, I
Okay.
have one question for our engineer. That, on that bid on Clarion Estates, it went over
Yep.
the estimate? What are you gonna do about it?
Well, our policy allows us to negotiate down, and Klotz has agreed to negotiate down, so
Okay.
you awarded based on my estimated cost.
Okay. Which is 231 or
Yeah.
something? Okay. I was gonna bring it up before, but we already voted on it, so it's a moot point.
Yeah.
Yeah, passed, so.
Yeah, it's been approved, so.
Yeah.
Okay, we're at commissioner reports. Commissioner Finkhauser.
I just wanted to thank the city and the staff and the other commissioners for that beautiful plant you sent in memory of my mother. Appreciate that. I wanted to mention Don Harness's proclamation. He's done a lot of work in this community, and I think that was nice to recognize that. And I will be gone on May 5th meeting. So, I will be attending that meeting. That's all.
Okay, Commissioner Law.
I would congratulate Don Harness on his years of service and thank him, very much. Another one of those people with amazing passion for something here in Garden City, and even three different things probably. I think the Windsor, the crowdfunding deal, that's kind of a new techno thing that I'm probably not all that up on, but seems like a great idea, and I hope it works out and dress that up and, like I said, see something from the outside. And then I would congratulate Mayor Dole and on her appointment, and thank outgoing Mayor Cessna on all his hard work. It was a great year, and I know it'll be another one coming up.
Okay, Commissioner Cessna?
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate newly appointed Mayor Dahl and newly appointed Vice Mayor Law. Congratulations. Also, want to congratulate Don Harness on his proclamation for being Don Harness Day. I know he's done a lot of great things to try to promote Garden City and the historic value of downtown, and so congratulations to him. And congratulations to the re-elected commissioners on their successful bids to be re-elected and back on the city commission. So congratulations on your campaigns. So, and that's all I have.
Commissioner Dale?
I'd like to also congratulate Mr. Harness on his proclamation. I think it goes beyond him. I think it goes to not only him but to his family, who devote a lot of time and support him in the effort that he has done for a number of years for the Windsor Hotel. And I know that it's a goal that they wish to achieve, and I hope it can meet that expectation in time, and I hope that all of us are around to see it. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that will take time. Congratulations to Mayor Dole on her position as mayor, and I apologize for nominating but failing to nominate anybody. It kind of, when you get senior, you kind of, there's a blank there. And I want to thank, and also Chris Law for being the vice mayor. I know they'll, as a team, they'll be one that'll represent the city well, and the rest of us. And I want to thank Mayor Cessna for what he's done in the last year as the mayor. And I think it's a great team that we established 2 years ago, and with the 5 that we have, and I think that we can carry the torch forward in behalf of the city and continue to make our goals. So I feel proud to be part of this team, and I want to thank you guys for being such a good team members. That's all I have.
We like you too.
Yeah.
I too would like to congratulate Don Harness on his day and thank him for his passion for our community. And I'd like to congratulate Commissioner Cessna and Commissioner Dale and Commissioner Fankhauser for their re-elections, and thank you for volunteering to serve again. And congratulate Vice Mayor Law on his appointment. And I want to also extend special thank you to Commissioner Cessna for serving as mayor. I'm going to have big shoes to try and fill. I don't know. But thank you for all your work. So.
Yep, you're welcome.
And thank you for the opportunity to serve as mayor for the community.
It's fun, right?
Oh yeah, it's great.
So, if we don't have anything else, I call this meeting adjourned.